Watch it. Watch out. On this camera, follow this one here, pal. Right, then you go, boys, back in.
And AJ understands that also. There's talk of that fight happening now this year, and again it's talk. You've got two fighters that don't need to fight, two fighters that really believe they were the best fighters in the world, that have to come to terms with it mentally, two fighters that you know, we probably want the fight more than they do. So with these two fighters, it's a
Conor Chris Eubank Jr. just attacked Benn after calling off the fight. And what a shame, to be honest. Benn pleaded for the rematch at first, and now he's the one pulling out. It makes sense why Eubank was taken. Benn came across as vulnerable, flimsy, and full of excuses, but Chris stood erect like a real fighter. Eubank really got into him at that point. With unrestrained anger, Eubank Jr. attacked Benn and quickly chopped him to size. He wasn't merely talking, he was claiming authority, calling him a child, and threatening to destroy him. Everything was heavy. That shot served as a warning. Benn's body language spoke everything. He appeared to be standing prey. Eubank didn't take long to point up that vulnerability. Eubank Jr. isn't merely criticizing Benn. He is exposing the negative aspects of boxing. Courageous enough to speak up when others won't. He demonstrates his backbone. Benn is obviously lacking. Politics is not Chris's purpose. He is here to stand tall and expose cheaters.
You're a kid, yeah, kid that's gonna fuck you up. Yeah, kid that's gonna fuck you up. Yeah.
What's what happened?
Yeah, what's what happened? Dead boy walking, yeah? Dead boy walking, yeah? Yeah, you're lucky.
Eddie Hearn, who criticized Benn's lack of professionalism and respect, had to acknowledge that he had gone too far. That sums it up well. You know you're in danger when your own promoter is unable to defend your actions. While Eubank's fire continues to rise, Benn's stock is rapidly declining.
Right, with 12 weeks of preparation, when you don't do that, you sort of, you know you're going to beat yourself up over it. So I thought, you know, let me have the summer with me and my family, relax, and watch the fight back when I have to, which is when I have to study and sit down with the team. And
things get serious at this point. Dave Coldwell made a perfect point. When hands start flying, it's war. Banter is one thing. Eubank Jr. demonstrated that he is not a man to be disregarded when Benn prodded the incorrect bear. The spark that ignited the fire touched his face. Coldwell was aware of it. The fans sensed it. When tensions reach this level, a cordial buildup is no longer possible. It's a battle of resentment. Additionally, mental tenacity is more important than technique in grudge battles. That edge is where Eubank thrives. Benn, however, appears unsteady if the pressure increases. There is no turning back now that the line has been crossed.
Things they're doing in the sport. No one speaks up. Everyone's too afraid. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to lose out on a fight, or I don't want to mess up my money. I don't care. I don't need to be here. So if you do something wrong, I'm going to expose you.
Adam Smith presented the broadcaster's point of view, and he was absolutely correct. Ballet is not boxing. It's emotional, messy, and cruel. Although you don't support pushing and face-grabbing during a press conference, let's face it, it just serves to exacerbate the situation. The competition is fierce, the supporters are louder, and the headlines are larger. Benn may believe he is playing games, but in actuality, he has only increased Eubank Jr.'s desire to destroy him. Even casual fans are now curious to see how far Eubank will go to silence Benn as the excitement spreads throughout the general public. Chris stands to gain the most from what should have been a routine face-off becoming a national discussion point.
Honestly, this guy has zero respect for anything. And I hope people can see through it. Some will, some won't. But if you can't see them, that's a lot of what happened up there was just wrong. So listen, we go to work and we're in to win the fight. It's going to be different this time.
Although Tony Bellew's remarks were audacious, let's examine them. Although he acknowledged Benn's superior technical skill, boxing isn't always about precise technique. It all comes down to heart, fortitude, and the capacity to delve deeply when necessary. Eubank Jr. has often shown that he is resilient to pressure. Benn may appear neat on paper, but what happens when he's exposed to life? Being harassed by a more powerful and resilient adversary. At that point, genuine grit emerges and skill falters. Chris doesn't require labels, even though Bellew questions Eubank's claim to be a brilliant boxer. He requires outcomes. He's still standing, according to the results, while Benn is stuck making excuses.
I'm not surprised.
Does that cross the line, do you think?
Yeah, it does. Listen, the presser was good. It was a great presser, back and forth, poking each other, but not too far. But once you get physical and you push on his face.
Even Tony Bellew acknowledged that the fight size is unparalleled. Even Bellew could not dispute the fact, despite his criticism. This is a huge battle. It's no longer merely a boxing bout. The entire country has been enthralled with this cultural event and rivalry. The conflict between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. is now intense, well-known, and personal. The stakes have only increased as a result of each shove, insult, and cancellation. Additionally, the pressure increases as the stakes climb. Eubank thrives on it, while Benn cracks beneath it. Legacies are defined by this type of conflict, the one that fans will discuss for years to come. Eubank Jr. has already shown that he is fearless, win or lose. Benn still has a lot to prove, and what counts most in the court of public opinion?
You're twice as big for the casual fans. Do we condone it? I mean, in boxing terms, should that happen at a head-to-head? Of course not, but these things do happen. This is the fight business, and it's just made it even bigger, and we wait to see what happens.
Conor Benn's remarks were honest, but also careless. He freely acknowledged that he wasn't considering a plan. He had violence on his mind. I could look tough in a soundbite if I shatter his head, but it shows far more vulnerability than strength. When faced with seasoned opponents, fighters who lead with emotion rarely survive. Additionally, Chris Eubank Jr. is too familiar with this game. He flourishes when opponents become agitated. Benn's absence of a well-thought-out plan becomes more apparent the more he discusses anger. Cuddles aren't the point of boxing, but neither is blind rage. It has to do with execution, control, and discipline. Eubank has demonstrated in high-stress combat that he can remain composed under duress and correct errors. Benn's admission merely demonstrates that he is more impulsive than calculating. And that puts a calm operator like Eubank Jr. in jeopardy. One man is fighting with emotion, while the other is fighting with concentration. Additionally, emotion alone is destroyed when discipline and competence combine.
Conor is a far better fighter than Chris Eubank Jr. is a boxer. And that's the problem that Chris Eubank Jr. is having. He's got this thing in his mind, he's a masterful boxer. No, you're not. I'm sorry, no, you're not.
Although Johnny Nelson's perspective was intriguing, it seemed unduly critical of Eubank Jr. He claimed that Chris's legs appeared rigid and heavy, but that was only one performance and not a trend for his career. Eubank has repeatedly demonstrated that when the stakes get higher, he can adapt and improve. Fighters change, particularly those with Eubank's motivation. Nelson, however, asserted that Benn had made progress, but to what extent has he done so? It is pointless to discuss Benn's crisper appearance until he can demonstrate it against elite competition, and Eubank is the litmus test. Although history indicates otherwise, Benn's followers insist on the notion of various outcomes. He is exposed by pressure, and Eubank is fueled by pressure. Nelson foresaw yet another lengthy, arduous battle, but there's a different vibe here. This isn't just another fight for Eubank. He views it as a legacy that defines war, and the outcome leans significantly in one direction when one combatant has that mindset and the other is making excuses. Every time, Eubank's tenacity surpasses Benn's purported advancements.
But I think this fight's just gone to absolutely grab the public interest now to another level. This is quite simply the biggest fight this country's ever seen.
Barry Jones was straightforward in his delivery. Both will suffer in this battle, but Eubank is still the favorite, and for good reason. Despite the tumultuous nature of their initial encounter, Chris appeared more experienced and collected. Barry admitted that only a fluke shot could tip the scales, demonstrating Eubank's resilience and toughness. That's reality, not prejudice. Chris and other fighters are made for difficult nights. He has demonstrated the fortitude, perseverance, and grit necessary to endure conflicts and continue to advance. Then, he has never been put through this much strain. Jones made it plain that there would be no shortcuts or easy results. This will be yet another night of punishment. And you support the individual who has proven himself in the face of criticism when the playing field is that level. Eubank Jr. is still in the lead because of this, and Benn is up against a wall he might not be able to overcome. Chris is the individual best suited to bear the responsibility when legacy is at stake.
I guess there's a lot of emotions on the fight. You know, so for me it was like, yeah, you know, going into the fight, that was my aim, was to hurt him. Right. And I hurt him. And that was my plan. You know, I'm not going in there to you know, give him a cuddle. And
this conflict is more than simply a story. It's about establishing who truly controls British boxing, pride, and legacy. Chris Eubank Jr. will be permanently silenced as the man who shut down Conor Benn twice if he prevails. However,
I do see improvement there for Conor, and I do think the results will be different the other way around in the next fight. I think it'll go the difference all over again.
If Benn surprises everyone, the story is entirely rewritten and he gains the respect he has been sorely seeking. Who has a stronger mind is the true question. Benn speaks angrily. Eubank has a composed gait. While one guy battles his emotions, the other fights for history. Everything will be determined by that comparison. Fans are aware of it. Commentators sense it. This collision is fate. Tell us, do you think Conor Benn pulls off the upset, or are you rooting for warrior Chris Eubank Jr.?